for a bit longer. When you get asked to be best man, the first thing that people always say is, "How's your speech? Have you got a speech? Have you got anything written down?" And I've not really done too much. I mean, I remember talking to Vicky and she said, "Well, have you got anything written yet?" And I said, "Oh, well, no, I'll probably just wing it on the day." And she just said, "Oh God." I don't know what that means, but don't worry, I've done some preparation. So I've got my Best Man for Dummies book, and we'll get through this together, I think. So where do we start? Okay, the thank yous. Thank you to the bridesmaids. I'm sure your help to Vicky was invaluable today. I'm sure she couldn't have done without your support. Thank you to the family as well, and again, I'm sure without your support today it couldn't have happened. I know, as Martin said, I've often been referred to as an extended member of the family, and I've sponged many a free meal in my time, but I am hoping this one will be one to be remembered. So that's the thank yous done. Says here I've got to talk about how I met the couple. I've known both Martin and Vicky for a fair number of years now. I've known them both individually and as a couple. When people ask me how I met Martin, I always find it difficult because I don't ever remember meeting Martin. He's just kind of always been there. It's needless to say, my mum used to refer to us as inseparable. She reminded me of the times when I used to wait by the bedroom window waiting for Vince's car to come home so I could ring up straight away and come round and play and whatnot. As young kids, we lived on the same road, obviously, and we would often play the usual boy kind of games, football and out on our bikes in the evenings. But there has always been one thing. Nothing but play computer games for 25 years essentially. My dad would often joke and say, "Why on earth do you bother going round to his house where you just sit in silence and play computer games?" This reminds me of an experience Vicky once had, I think, when she came round and I was there playing on a computer game, and I think she just had enough and just said, "Do you guys ever talk?" And Martin just looked at me, shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, it's all been said." But relative to this, I've not known Vicky quite as long. I think we first met, she wasn't wearing very much actually. Because, oh yeah, we used to swim at the same swimming club, I think. But we didn't really speak too much because I was about 10 or 11 and she was a girl. Didn't say too much. It wouldn't be until secondary school when we first spoke, and me, Martin and Vicky all went to the same secondary school. I think me and Vicky sat next to each other in history, if I seem to remember. I don't know if I reminded you enough, Martin, about this, but you know Vicky actually asked me out once. Well, I say Vicky asked me out. It was a friend asking me out from the other side of the road while I was on the bus. And you didn't look too pleased about the whole thing. Yeah. But it still counts. I'm never going to let you forget that. So that's the meeting done. What can I talk about now? So I was here to tell a controversial story about the groom. There was that time, actually. I don't know if you remember this. Me, Lorenzo and Joe, we came up to Kiel for your 21st birthday. But you got too drunk and had to be taken home by Vicky before anything controversial. So I think I'll have to move on. So it says here I've got to mock his general manliness and maybe his prowess in the bedroom. But I don't think I need to do that, do you? I was a bit shocked when I heard the news that Vicky was pregnant. And Martin actually texted me that she was pregnant. So we are making progress on the communication front. But I have been suggesting names for a while for the baby. But unfortunately, Michael doesn't suit a little girl. But at this point, I would like to have a quick toast. So you'll all join me in raising your glasses to Martin and Vicky's new child, Michelle.
Michelle!
Yeah, what's that anyway? So we're at secondary school, as I was saying, and there's a few things that need to be said. The reason I probably am best man today as well was for a completely different reason. And it's the same reason why Martin's still here today. I do remember while we were at secondary school, I was walking home with him one day, and just about to step out in front of a speeding bus, I rugby tackled him to the ground. The bus actually clipped my leg. No, that's a bit far. But needless to say, that feat in itself isn't that impressive. But the fact that I had to do it twice is quite impressive, I like to think. Like I said, I need to talk about how they met. And I'm not going to be accused of not doing any work, because to be honest, I don't actually know how Martin and Vicky met. The first thing I knew about the whole story was when Martin turned to me and said, "Oh, Vicky Marshall asked me up today." That's the first I knew. So I did a bit of research and I rang Martin up. I said, "Martin, I can't remember how you two met." And he just said, "Oh, I think we just met around the corridors at school. I think Stephen Q introduced us." And I wasn't satisfied with this, because I think the old romantic in me wanted some big story about how their eyes met across a crowded cafeteria, and then Martin knew that she was the only woman for him. So I pushed on a bit, and so I had a bit of a memory flash. Wasn't it in Germany, referring to a school trip to the Rhineland we'd had? And he went, "Oh yeah, I suppose if you're looking for the moment, that was it." And I thought, brilliant, I've got him. And then he said, "Well, it was for her at least anyway." To be honest, when I rang Martin, I don't think he would have ever given me the story I wanted, even if there was one, which I'm sure there was. But I don't think it takes a wise man to see that these two are clearly very much in love. Me and Martin had big dreams of living together as young children, and I don't think that's going to happen now, unfortunately. But I don't think either of us would have known that you would have been so lucky to find someone like him. She obviously does mean a lot to her. It's also been clear to me, excluding yourself, Angela, that there's only ever been one woman in Martin's life that he needed to be happy. But that won't last very long, because soon there'll be two. So I think I'll keep my speech short, because we're all hungry, and I'll finish there. So if you'd like to join me in a toast to Martin, Vicky, and their new family.
It's Martin. To Michelle.